Agitorium nostrum in omni Domini. We are studying the Sillon errors by what pope who condemned this? What year?
1910.
In what document?
Our apostolic mandate.
Okay, and we are on page 26, we left off, which is a summary of the whole document, the letter on the Sillon, the motu proprio. Liberty and authority are not compatible. Obedience does not lower the dignity of man. Liberty and authority are not incompatible. So liberty and authority are compatible. You can be free working under a good authority, or even a bad authority. Right? We're on top of page 26. Obedience does not lower the dignity of man. The Sionists were saying, pretty much it does. Man's not a slave. He has to be free. Everybody a king. Well, no. Saints became great saints through obedience. You know, happy obedience. It would be a joy to be able to obey our bishops if they had the right faith. The Pope, if he defended the right faith. We want to obey. That's all we would love to do. But we can't obey if they're demanding things that go against the faith, for example. But if it doesn't go against the faith, are we bound to obey? Faith, our morals?
If it doesn't?
Right.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. And it has made great saints, right? Look at all the obedience of holy monks down the centuries, nuns, parents to their children, men to their bosses. Inequality does not imply injustice. So that's Catholic teaching. But the modernists and the Sionists say inequality does imply injustice. But that's not true. Right? Not everybody can be king. Not everybody can be a dentist. Not everybody can be a professor. Not everybody can be an engineer. Some are just happy to be working in the kitchen. Some are happy to be polishing shoes. Or working as a carpenter like St. Joseph. And everybody needs the carpenter. But not everybody can be a carpenter. Otherwise the city would go bonkers. If everyone was an engineer, who's going to make the food? If everyone was a cook, who's going to drive on the bridge? You need someone to build it, you see? So God gives all these gifts differently, all these talents, and that's a good thing. It's not injustice at all, but this is this modern stupidity, equating everything. Third point, it is not forbidden to the people to choose their own form of government in certain cases, but this choice simply marks out the ruler. It does not delegate authority. Very important distinction, right? And this is repeated by Pope Leo XIII, Pius X, Pius XI, and XII. Next point, Guadalupe.
Charity does not imply the toleration of false ideas, errors, and vices.
Right. True charity will not tolerate false ideas, errors, and vices, right? True charity won't tolerate these things. It'll be always patient with the person, but will not tolerate false ideas, errors, and vices, but fight against them. So the modernists and the Sionists were saying true charity means tolerating false ideas, tolerating their errors, tolerating their vices. Which is the religion, is the false charity of Vatican II. It is. And it's even worse now, tolerating the rainbow movement and giving them all hugs and kisses when that's not what they need. What do they need, these poor souls?
They need to be...
What would be true charity towards these poor souls?
To condemn their actions and correct them and show them a way to amend their lives.
Yeah, help them amend their life. Get out of that mud. And, sometimes just to good old-fashioned catechism class can straighten out their thinking. You know? You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know men with men is fruitless. Women with women is completely fruitless. It's sterile. And it offends God very much, of course. Next, Aunt Michael.
Love our neighbor.
Love of our neighbor.
Love of our neighbor rests on the love of God. Any other kind of love is sheer illusion.
So is love of neighbor without love of God, isn't that healthy and robust?
No.
No. But what kind of love is promoted? Well, who promotes that kind of love especially? Love of neighbor, philanthropy. Philos and anthropos, love of man.
The Freemasons.
Freemasons, that's all the love they speak about. Love of man, love of man, love of man. And it fits to the new Mass, doesn't it? So love of our neighbor rests on the
Love of God.
So without the love of God, the love of neighbor is...
It's all sheer illusion, as it says here. It's fruitless.
That's right. Love of the common interest is sheer illusion. Love of the common interest is sheer illusion. That's paragraph 24. Let's look at that again quickly. Last paragraph of paragraph 24. By separating fraternity from Christian charity, thus understood, democracy, far from being a progress, would mean a disastrous step backwards for civilization. If, as we desire with all our heart the highest possible peak of well-being for society and its members to be attained through fraternity, or as so-called universal solidarity, all minds must be united in the knowledge of,
Truth.
all wills united in,
Morality.
and all hearts in the love of,
God.
and his Son.
Jesus Christ.
But this union is attainable only by,
Catholic charity.
and that is why Catholic charity alone can lead the people in the march of progress towards the ideal civilization. So right now, Trump is leading civilization, he's running backwards. He's sprinting backwards and taking us right into a third world war. Of course, he's just a puppet of Israel. Next, a democracy, Anthony.
A democracy that separates fraternity from Christian charity is disastrous to civilization.
Okay, that's paragraph 24. We just read that. Go on.
Human dignity does not consist in being free, thinking, and responsible. These are big words by which human pride is exalted, and they carry man away to his own destruction.
Yes. Picture the 18-year-old at home. I'm free. I'm free to think what I want, and I'm responsible. I'm out of my house. I'm out here. Well, especially girls, they shouldn't be running away out of home at 18. It's better they stay home. It's better they stay home and help their parents and until they're married, really, or if they choose to go for education, that it be truly productive. But that's another debate. So the pride of man, I'm free to think what I want. I can think, and I'm responsible for my own actions, which is partly true, but without God, it's in dependence on God and prayer, it's just human pride. Next, human dignity consists, Anthony?
Human dignity consists in being obedient even unto holiness, and in discharging one's duties in complete humility.
Yeah, look at our Lord in the workshop with St. Joseph. Is that degrading that he was obeying his own father at age 25?
No.
At age 25. Look at this. All right, at age 25, our Lord is told by St. Joseph, can you please sweep the floor? He probably didn't even ever have to ask him either, just it was obvious. But there's our Lord sweeping up the sawdust after the long day of work. The living God, cleaning up the sawdust, picking up the chunks of wood, throwing it in maybe a fireplace or put it in sacks to be sold off for farmers who need the sawdust also. So there's our Lord obeying St. Joseph. And when he gets into the kitchen, he obeys his heavenly mother. And this is the living God. So is that degrading to human dignity to be obeying one's superior or one's parents or one's boss?
No.
No, not at all. Not at all. And in fact, it elevates human dignity. Modern democracy, Guadalupe?
Modern democratic practices are conducive to lack of discipline, disobedience, and rebellion.
Repeat.
Modern democratic practices are conducive to lack of discipline, disobedience, and rebellion.
Can anyone explain this? That's paragraph 28. Why would democratic practices lead to disobedience?
Because of the spirit of every man is his own king. So, with that way of thinking, you don't have to obey anyone, nor do you have to be underneath anyone.
Right. How come it's conducive to a lack of discipline? Look at the American army marching. Disorder, not in pace, not the same steps. Women of all sizes, mixed in with men in military gear. That's a good example of modern democracy. They don't march in the same step. There's no discipline. There's no obedience. And what else? Rebellion. They talk back to their sergeants. Of course, I'm sure they get punishments, but the women in the military, I'm told, when they break the rules, they hardly get punished because they're women. They get punished, but nothing compared to what the men get. So it's just complete disorder. But you look at Russia's army marching, or China. Yeah, discipline, obedience. And if you rebel, you're just out. You're out in the street. So monastic discipline, monastic obedience, monastic submission. That's what our Lord teaches us. Go on, Guadalupe. It is a serious
error to bind down Catholicism to a form of democracy whose doctrines are false.
Very good point. Yeah. And a lot of modern men think this way. Catholicism and modern democracy are one and the same. Well, that's not true. The Church condemns modern democracy. Which reminds me, I have to make a copy to give you a whole list of the popes, what they say about modern democracy. Quoting especially Pius X. It's really good. I think that destroyed the clergy of the last 200 years in America anyway. This whole thinking has eaten up, rotted the clergy. So they fall with all the liberal ideas. It's just so easy. They don't fight them. So what's wrong with the false doctrines of democracy? How does it go against Catholicism?
The ideas of separation of church and state, and that the power comes from the people.
Okay, and what else? The other error with democracy? The majority vote.
Oh yes, the majority make the truth. The majority vote makes the truth.
Yes, that's completely.
Most of what modern democracy teaches isn't rooted in the Catholic truth, which makes it false. Like their ideas of liberty, it's all false. So if it's not rooted in Catholicism, it eventually collapses.
Yes, and destroys Catholicism. Crucifies our Lord. So, the devil is so clever, isn't he? It is the duty of Catholics, Guadalupe.
It is the duty of Catholics to use politics for the defense of religion.
Yes. So the political government order should profess and defend the true religion, in other words. That is the duty of the state. And is it a duty of piety or a duty of justice, Michael?
Justice.
Absolutely. A lot of people think it's a duty of piety. Like the state being Catholic, oh, how wonderful that would be. Well, yeah, it'd be wonderful, but it's also their duty. So if Trump is out there saying he's not going to go to heaven, and repeated that many times, he better fear for his judgment, because he will be judged as president and severely weighed as president. So he has to seek his own salvation of his soul. So we got to pray for his conversion, of course. Oh, and this is another great and powerful quote here, Michael.
There is no true civilization without a moral civilization. No true moral civilization without the true religion.
Everybody repeat.
There is no true civilization without a moral civilization. No true moral civilization without the true religion.
So everybody right now, they want a peaceful neighborhood where there's no murderers on the loose, no vandals, no gangs popping tires, busting windows, breaking into their house. Everybody wants that, right? But to have that, that's a moral, you have to have at least a moral civilization. But Pius X and all the popes are saying you can't have a moral civilization without the true
Religion.
There it is. So who are the real builders for a true civilization? It's the Catholic priests. They're the ones in the front. They're on the front lines, reordering everything to Christ, to the glory of God, and the laws of the church, and of Christ, and the Ten Commandments. Next point, Michael, it is wrong.
It is wrong, futile, and dangerous to seek alliances outside the Catholic flock for the betterment of human society.
Yeah, and this applies now. You unite the clans can be obviously mistaken. If it means with all false religions, not possible. But that's what the popes mean by unite the clans, the modernist popes. And they're doing it, by the ecumenical prayers, right? Many of the modernist bishops unite the clans, but how? They bring in the Baptists to read the epistle and join hands with Muslims and bowing their heads. But that's false. Michael Matt's coined phrase, unite the clans, he even errs on this because he wants to unite everybody with the Latin Mass. But you can't unite everyone on the Mass unless they all have the same faith, the dogma, which means they have to reject Vatican II in the new Mass. So he wants to unite clans many priests and bishops who accept the new Mass, who promote Vatican II, as long as they say the Latin Mass. But if I say the Latin Mass, a priest, but I accept Vatican II, and I don't condemn the new Mass, I'm building on sand. I'm destroying the very Latin Mass I'm trying to defend and say. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can anyone give a better example?
Well, I would just say it's the same thing as mixing truth and error. It's the whole thing with why Vatican II should be condemned, because you can't say, we can say the Latin Mass, but then the new Mass is fine, because if you unite the clans, like Michael Matt says, then you have priests that are saying, you can go to the new Mass, and you have other priests that are saying, no, you can't go to the new Mass.
Right.
So it's not the same faith, essentially, and then the flock gets confused.
That's right.
You're also technically fighting for religious liberty then, because you're not fighting to condemn and end the new Mass. You're fighting for the freedom of the Latin Mass along with the new Mass. You're just basically fighting for religious freedom.
Yes. Tradecumenism. Which is what we have to admit, sad to say, I wish I didn't have to, but it has to be said. This is the tradecumenism that Bishop Williamson promoted in his last 10 years. He had confirmations at the Feniite Chapel. He told people, yes, you can go to a Sedevacantist Mass, no problem, as long as they're not dogmatic Sedevacantists. What else? New Mass, you can, if there's nothing else, you can nourish your faith on the new Mass. Do what you need to nourish your faith. Which is the open door to Jehovah Witness nurses my faith. Very dangerous, right? And he knew better. He didn't know better, but I don't know what got to him in his older age. I hope God dealt with him mercifully. Because we're all poisoned by the modern world, And we can be at any age. We can be at any age. So we need to always pray and humbly persevere. So yes, unite the clans can only be true in what?
To unite in truth.
To unite tradition.
Unite in Catholic truth, Catholic tradition, Catholic sacraments of tradition. That's the only way, which is the position of Archbishop Lefebvre. That's why, they promote Archbishop Lefebvre. They like him now that he's dead. But when he was alive, they were attacking him. A lot of these neocons. They really were attacking him. How dare he say you can't go to the new Mass? How dare you say you can't go to the indult Mass? People got angry with him. Even many traditionalists. He's being too extreme. Right? But he's the one that laid it down very clear. So unite the clans, but yes, in the Catholic truth, Catholic dogma, with the same sense, meaning,
Doctrine.
and doctrine, yeah. Sense, meaning, and doctrine. Outside of that, there's no true union of the clans. Next, Anthony.
The church cannot benefit from social action. Rather, social action can benefit from the work of the church.
Very well said, yes. Yes. So, social action, good, but you need the church to coach it, because they can easily fall into humanitarianism, philanthropy, Masonic work-together-ism, do-goodism, but without the true charity. Priests who are fully versed in philosophy, theology, history, and social science alone can guide a fruitful program of social action. But let no priest be deceived in the maze of current opinions by the miracles of false democracy. Don't be deceived by the miracles of false democracy. What miracles is he talking about? That's paragraph 44.
I think he's talking about the apparent unity and peace.
Yeah, okay, we got it, page 23. However, Anthony, let not these priests be misled. Page 23 on the marked margin.
However, let not these priests be misled in the maze of current opinions by the miracles of a false democracy. Let them not borrow from the rhetoric of the worst enemies of the church and of the people, the high-flown phrases, full of promises, which are as high-sounding as unattainable. Let them be convinced that the social question and social science did not arise only yesterday, that the church and the state, at all times and in happy concert,
That means concert, concertum, working together.
have raised up fruitful organizations to this end, that the church, which has never betrayed the happiness of the people by consenting to dubious alliances, does not have to free herself from the past, that all that is needed is to take up again, with the help of the true workers for a social restoration, the organisms which the revolution shattered, and to adapt them in the same Christian spirit that inspired them to the new environment arising from the material development of today's society. Indeed, the true friends of the people are neither revolutionaries nor innovators. They are traditionalists.
Yes, so the great Hernan Cortez, overthrowing the Aztec Empire militarily, did he do the right thing?
Yes.
Yes, because the liberals all scream, oh, Cortez was the worst and evil, because he destroyed the civilization of these peaceful people. Well, were they peaceful?
No.
What were they doing?
Eating people's hearts.
Yes.
Thousands, in 1 month, I think 40,000, something like that. That means day and night they were sacrificing, drowning children, and ripping out their hearts. So he was right to militarily overtake them. And that has to be done sometimes. The liberals can't swallow violence, but sometimes violence is needed. So how is a liberal a contradiction? Oh, we got to stop violence. Stop violence. Don't be cruel. And yet, who's more bloodshedding than a liberal? By
Abortion, euthanasia,
assisted suicide.
suicide.
Not to mention all the wars America's involved in.
That's
Yeah.
right. Promoting wars. Already, Trump's, he's only in his first part of his term. He's bombed over 28 countries already. The U.S. Peace-loving, America first. And Taylor Greene, whatever her name is, she's speaking very openly. And she's calling it MAGA, make Israel great again. That's what's happened to MAGA, she says. And it's true. It is true. But modern democracy is set for inner destruction anyway. The true friends of the people are not the,
Revolutionaries,
nor the,
innovators.
but the traditionalists. That's right. He speaks of the one world government in paragraph 40 in the Gospel of the Revolution, paragraph 41. All right, let's take a look now at the Bishop Williamson's wonderful chart that he did back in his good days. These are so precious, these charts. He really could narrow it down. That was a gift he had. All right, so Pope St. Pius X on the Sillon. On the left column, you have the introduction, and then the Sillon, their doctrine, expounded and refuted. Then the Sillon action, with the Sillon within the church. Catholic counteraction, instructions, prayer, etc. Paragraph 48-49, with pontifical blessing given at Rome, August
1910.
Letter from the Pope on the top. Introduction. Letter from the Pope. 1 Guadalupe. I can call you Gabriel now,
Oh, yes, you can.
because Gabriel's not been here. So that's why I had to start calling Gabriel Guadalupe, which is actually your first baptismal name.
Yes, Guadalupe.
Because Gabriel, I was just getting too confused.
We were getting confused as well.
Yes, so now I can start calling you Gabriel, the Archangel. Go ahead, Gabriel.
The Pope, 1. So the Pope must guard Catholics from high-flown liberalism, like the Sillon.
Yes. Introduction on the Sillonists. Their persons, their virtues and vices. 2.
As persons, the Sillonists are noble, enthusiastic, selfless, idealistic,
Okay, so those are all good things. 3.
and their promoting of Christ amongst the workers deserved encouragement.
Yes, they had good days. But their vices in their persons. 4, Michael.
But they were ill-equipped in
Philosophy, theology,
and history to avoid liberal errors.
and 5. Refused.
Refused to heed warnings of dangers from the church, so we must speak.
6.
Firstly, they claim that their work does not come under the church's control.
7.
False, for they plan
And
and propagate their ideas to regenerate all society.
okay, this is Bishop Williamson's actual handwriting, so you can make it very small. So here's the Sionists, their errors in discipline, paragraph 6, 7. Right? And 8, Anthony.
This indiscipline is bad enough, but worse still, they are in doctrinal error.
They are in what?
Doctrinal error.
Which is the main thing. In doctrine, their errors in doctrine. 9,
They place sovereignty in the people and wish to abolish the social classes.
and 10.
And they dream of rebuilding society on a new basis, defying laws of human nature.
Yes, so their doctrine is all skewed. Sovereignty in the people, but the Catholic Church teaches sovereignty is not in the people, but
In God.
in God and in the governing
Leaders.
authority or leaders who receive their authority from
God.
Yeah, that's Catholic teaching. But this modern democracy says all authority comes from the people, by the people, for the people, the people, the people, the people. And wish to abolish another one of their doctrinal errors, they want to abolish the social
Kingship of Christ.
classes. They want to get rid of the social classes, but that's an illusion. You're always going to have the poor, like Christ said. You're always going to have those who own much and own the rich and the poor, and there's always going to be differences of classes. So did our Lord level out and destroy the classes?
No.
No. What does St. Paul say to the slave, Philemon?
Tells him to go back.
Rebel against him. Get paper cards and boycott. Is that what he says?
No, he's
Just
telling
be obedient to your masters.
Go back to your master and be obedient.
Yes.
That's what St. Paul says to Philemon. People forget this. So St. Paul is telling him, go back and be a good slave. Which to the modern ear is like, wow, St. Paul, he's a male chauvinist. But St. Paul no doubt told Philemon also, be a good master. Don't be unfair. Treat your servants with honor. And then that happened in the South. In Florida, near Jacksonville, there was a whole plantation. It's still there. It was owned by a Catholic. And he had a huge plantation, and they had little homes for the black servants. And the blacks loved their master. The master loved their servants. It was like a huge family. And the blacks were very happy working for him. They had shelter, they had security, they had job security, they had insurance, because he would take care of them. He would spend his money to take care of their wounds, broken bones, anything that happened, an accident. And they also went to Mass with him. They'd all go to Mass together. Isn't that beautiful of Catholicism? So there in Mass at the pews, you've got the master, his family, probably behind them is the slaves with their veils on, with their family and their children, and all praying at Mass. There's the true unity. There's the true equality. There's the true fraternity. And the true liberty, too. Only the Catholic Church can do this.
And another thing, like everybody out in the world today, like in the modern world now, in a sense, everybody's slaves.
Yes.
They
Absolutely.
They have a job, they get their 9 to 5, they need insurance, it's the same thing. They have a loan on their house, it's the same thing.
But
just on a larger scale.
worse slaves than any of the black guys in the South. Much worse. Because the blacks at least had vacation, Sunday weekends off. Their hours were not too brutal. Maybe a little more in the summer because of harvest, but everyone understands that. But Chesterton used to say, you're slaves whether you're paid for it or not. They just put in the mind of people, we're free.
Yeah.
But I repeat, the average working man today is more of a slave than any worker in the Middle Ages. The average worker in the Middle Ages had 165 days off of leisure. Time with his family, time to make crusades, pilgrimage, fight on the crusades or pilgrimages. That's why you had the 3 great pilgrimages. Canterbury in England, you had Jerusalem in Holy Land, you had Santiago de Compostela in Spain, and then throughout France you had other ones, smaller ones. So, all right, so they want to destroy the social classes all in one class, which it's a lie. It doesn't happen. It's against nature. And this is what he's saying. They dream of rebuilding society, defying the laws of human nature. But you can't defy the laws God built in. We will stop there and pick up next time. Isn't this great, though, this
Yes.
summary? Adjutorium nostrum in nomine Domini.
We go to